Well, where today we are going to I'm going to be giving my power rankings for this up and coming NFL season. As you can see, this is the preseason power rankings, and what I will be doing is I will be updating it every week, sort of like college football rankings. And so, for the preseason, before the season starts, I'm going to give here my initial power rankings going into the season, and then obviously we will update them every week. And of course, before we get into this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss more content, turn the notification on so you are alerted when new videos get posted, and also, as usual, in the comment section, let me know your thoughts on this video. And without further ado, let's get into our preseason power rankings for this season. So, here's the layout, how I'm going to do this. I'm going to give about 5 to 7 teams and kind of like tier it out. And first tier we have is 32 through 28. At 32, I have the New England Patriots, 31, Denver Broncos, Washington Commanders at 30, New York Giants at 29, and the Carolina Panthers at 28. I think the Patriots could be the worst season. They have a rookie quarterback, not much around him. The Broncos, obviously, their quarterback situation with Bo Nix could be a little interesting. Commanders, they have Jaden Daniels, another rookie quarterback. I like the additions they made around Daniels, but he's still a rookie quarterback, so it still could be some rough patches there. At 29 with the Giants, I just still don't believe in Daniel Jones. Obviously, I like Malik Neighbors. I really like their whole receiver core with Hyatt and Robinson, and of course Neighbors. But I don't really know about this Giants team this year, especially with the loss of Saquon. He can really carry that team. And then the Panthers at 28. I really like the additions they made with Deontay Johnson, the linemen they brought in, Leggett, Canales, and of course Bryce Young. Hopefully can improve. And that's why I have them at 28. I know they were 32 at the end of the year, but I think the improvements they made kind of give them a little bit of a bump up to 28. Then we move on to our next tier, where we have the Raiders at 27, the Titans at 26, Vikings at 25, the Chargers at 24, and the Cardinals at 23. And again, this is going into the season. So I may think that the Chargers can have 12 wins, so that would end up having them at the end of the year. If they were to get 12 wins, they would be in like that top 8 range. But going into this season, based on last year and improvements, they might be a little lower. Just had to get that out of the way. But so Raiders at 27, they obviously their quarterback situation is a little interesting again with O'Connell and Minshew. Obviously, Minshew led the Colts to a playoff spot or near playoff spot last year. But I just don't know with him and O'Connell. I do, of course, they have Adams and Crosby. They bring in Wilkins. I really like Zamir White and Brock Bowers, who they drafted. But I'm not too high on the Raiders going into the season. 26, so I had the Titans. Will Levis, I could see him breaking out, especially with Calvin Ridley, Hopkins, Pollard on the team. But I'm still not too sure on the Titans. I think they might end up with last place in the division. The Vikings, I think Sam Darnold actually will have a very good season for his standards with all the supporting casts and pieces he has around him. But it's still Sam Darnold. Their defense is still questionable. Now, you can have expectations on Sam Darnold, but until he proves you right, you can't really go into the season having the Vikings ranked too high. Chargers at 24. It's mainly their receivers that is putting them so low on this list, and Herbert's, I guess, his injury concerns, even though I don't think he necessarily has those. But going into the year, they don't have much at receiver or really tight end. Their O-line isn't elite. Their defense is a little bit on the older side. I could see the Chargers having a great season, but I think going into the year, they're going to be lower for me. And then at 23, I have the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray could have an amazing season, a career year. Obviously, you have Marvin Harrison, best receiver in the draft. But outside of that, they don't have much. I don't know how good their defense is going to be. So that's why I have them low at 23. There's not much to talk about going into the year, but obviously as the games and as the season progresses, we'll have more to talk about. The next tier we have is the Seahawks at 22, Saints at 21, the Steelers at 20, Bears 19, Jags 18, and Colts at 17. Seahawks, I know you have Metcalf and Lockett and JSN. I do like their defense, and Geno Smith has played good football since sort of taking over for Seattle. But you lose Pete Carroll. Uh, what was their coach, Mike McDonald from the Ravens? I do like him, but I think it could be a bit of a rough year one in this sort of new era, and I could see them definitely having a lower draft pick and then taking one of these quarterbacks this year and sort of starting from there they're still young teams. So the Seahawks the Seahawks have a very good future, but I think this year could be a little rough for the Seahawks, at least going into it. Saints at 21, I just don't trust Derek Carr that much, to be honest. And their team is very old, especially on the defensive side. So that's why I'm at 21. Saints at 20, or Steelers at 20. Obviously, their defense is elite. Uh, and you have George Pickens, who many people are high on, including myself. But you just don't know what you're going to get from Russell Wilson. He did play good at the end of last year with the Broncos, or for most part of last year with the Broncos. But you never know what you're going to get out of Russell Wilson. You never know what you're going to get out of Justin Fields. So just for that sort of question mark going into that season at the most important position, I couldn't really put him too high on this list. Bears at 19. You obviously have you got the number one pick, generational prospect Caleb Williams. You put him in an insane supporting cast. But I just can't have a team led by a rookie going into the year super high in a power rankings if Caleb Williams proves everybody right and is an outstanding quarterback. Then obviously they'll climb the rankings. But going into the year with a rookie quarterback, I didn't want to put them too high on the list. Jags at 18. Obviously you got Trevor Lawrence. I'll talk about the Jags at 18 and the Colts at 17. They're pretty much in that same, they're kind of interchangeable here at this spot. I just went with the Colts at 17 over the Jags because I just think I like. Obviously, I think Trevor Lawrence is better than Richardson at this moment, but I think outside of Lawrence and outside of Richardson, I think the Colts have a little bit of a better supporting cast around their quarterback, and so that's why I had them at 17 and then the Jags at 18. Moving on to the next tier, we have the Rams at 16, the Browns at 15, Bucks at 14, the Packers at 13, the Jets at 12, and the Falcons at 11. Now, the Rams, obviously, they made the playoffs last year, but I just feel like every other team got slightly better than them. So that's why I left them at 16. Browns at 15. They have an insane defense. You still have Amari Cooper and Njoku, Nick Chubb. We'll see what Watson does. If Watson plays well, they will stay around here, maybe even get higher. But if Watson sort of keeps declining, they might go down lower. Bucks at 14. They won the division last year. Baker Mayfield had a great year. You can't put him too low. Green Bay, obviously, they just paid Jordan Love before the season. Highest paid quarterback in history. Their young team is just getting better. So I really like them at 13. The Jets at 12, obviously going into the season. So many high expectations. You now have Aaron Rodgers healthy. Great team around him. I think going into the season, many people are high on the Jets. And just like the Jets, many people are high on the Falcons as they add Kirk Cousins. Along with the Jets with Rodgers, you have two aging older quarterbacks coming off of big injuries. But they have good pieces around them. I think the Jets have slightly better pieces. So maybe they should be at 11, but they're interchangeable. And so that's why they're kind of high, just because I think the expectations are high on them as well. But if the injury takes a little bit a time to recover for both teams, or the supporting cast isn't as good, they could fall down the list as well. The next tier we have is I have the Dolphins at 10, the Bills at 9, Bengals at 8, Texans at 7, and the Cowboys at 6. The Dolphins, obviously, you still have your core of Waddle and Hill, Achane, Mostert, Tua. Their defense, you did lose Christian Wilkins, but you still have Ramsey. I believe they brought in Jordan Poyer. You still have Javon Holland. It's still a good team. They're going to have a good season. Going into the year, I think they have good expectations, so I'll put them at 10. Same thing with the Bills at 9. I know they lost Stephon Diggs, but I think they'll actually be better since losing Stephon Diggs. I just feel like the team morale wasn't high. There's a lot of tension, and I feel like that is now gone. Not saying that Diggs is like bad for the locker room or whatever. I just think those two weren't um, they they weren't working well together. But I still think the Bills are going to be good. Bengals 8, you obviously get Burrow back. You still have Chase. Higgins is on the team. Um, you do lose Joe Mixon and replace him with, I think, Zach Moss. Zach Moss isn't a bad running back by any means, but I still think the Bengals will be good. Texans, obviously, you still have C.J. Stroud. They bring in Stephon Diggs. Their team is still great. You bring in Danielle Hunter as well. I know you lost Grenard, but Hunter's just in it. Hunter's one of the better pass rushers in the league, while Grenard was just like an up-and-coming pass rusher. There's no reason to not be high on the Texans. And then Cowboys at 6. Obviously, you could talk about their playoff track record, but regular season-wise, the Cowboys will always be good. Now, who knows what happens after this season with Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Parsons, guys like that. But right now, you have Prescott, who plays like a top 10 quarterback, sometimes even plays like a top 5. You have CeeDee Lamb, top 5 running receiver. Excuse me. You have Micah Parsons, one of the better defensive players in all football. You have Trevon Diggs coming back. You still have Deron Bland. It's a good team. They're going to get wins. So I have them at 6. And then the last tier we have the Lions at 5, Ravens at 4, Eagles at 3, the Niners at 2, and the Chiefs at 1. This is essentially just the AFC and NFC championships from last year, just plus the Eagles. So obviously, I think the other 4 teams are better than a team like the Lions, which is why I put them at 5. You can't discredit the Lions for making the NFC Championship, so I did put them ahead of teams like the Cowboys, Texans, and Bengals. But I just feel like they're a little more inexperienced compared to these other teams. Chiefs have won the last 2 Super Bowls. The Niners have been to 2 Super Bowls in the recent history. Eagles made a Super Bowl. The Ravens are just a good team. So I think with the experience that the Eagles, Niners, and Chiefs have, they deserve to be that top 3 and just the talent overall. And then Ravens and Lions sort of get that 4 and 5 spot above the other teams, just because you can't discredit them for making the AFC and NFC championship. So that's why I have them at 4 and 5. It was really a toss-up who I put at 4 and 5 between those two. Chiefs, I think you have to put the Super Bowl champs at 1, especially back-to-back Super Bowl champs. And then Niners and Eagles, two very stacked rosters, and I just went with the Niners. I think they're the better team, and they made the NFC. They made the Super Bowl last year, so. And that will be it for my preseason power rankings. Again, over the course of the season, this will get changed, kind of like, as I mentioned, how college football does it, or just how college does sports like basketball and football. But this is just going into the season, the baseline that I personally have. And that will be it for my power rankings video for the preseason. Again, let me know in the comment section what you agree with, what you disagree with, and also make sure you like the video and subscribe as well. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.